You're the general manager of a team picking at 5. Are you comfortable knowing what you know now, trading up to 3, as Laura is suggesting, and certainly many others have, to take Tua Tagovailoa?
No, I'm not. In this environment, I simply can't do that for an organization because when you look at the type of guaranteed money you have, Kyler Murray had $35 million in fully guaranteed money. Greeny, you just don't know. You want your own doctors, your own trainers, your own strength coaches to work with Tua, see mobility, to see range of motion. And because we're in this very unique environment, it would be irresponsible to take him in the top 10 simply because you don't have that information firsthand to know exactly where he is.
Top 10. That's a big number. Right? And so if I were to then extrapolate it out further, let's say you love him. Let's say you look at him and you say, this guy, if he does stay healthy, is going to be a superstar. He really is Drew Brees. What conversation are you having with ownership, with the people you work for, about, for lack of a better word, job security in the event the thing goes sideways?
That's right, because it is an opportunity because the upside is so compelling. He is so talented. But this is a conversation you want to have with your owner, your head coach, to say, hey, if we're sitting here in January and he has to miss another year because this is an injury that's hard to predict. It's not a well-vascularized part of the body in terms of you could have re-injury. And I want the owner to sign off to know that, hey, if this goes sideways, remember this conversation. This is a huge risk. And by the way, this player's been hurt 2 other times. So he is injury prone. And I want to make sure that we're in lockstep and this is a true partnership because I'd much rather take a safer player in the top 10 this year because of the unique circumstances. So I would want to make sure that the owner is ironclad with our decision.
All right, Dominique, the word risk is going to come up a lot connected to Tua, but risk can have a lot of different connotations. What's another one?
Yeah, so I think that I understand what Mr. T is saying there, that it's risky to take him, but it's also risky not to take him. If he goes somewhere else and succeeds, you're just as likely to lose your job as a GM as you are if he comes in as injured, because they're going to look at you and you say, we missed this opportunity. And I know Greenberg's tired of hearing it, but everyone keeps bringing up that Dolphins situation when they decided that they wouldn't go with Drew Brees because of injury concerns. And we know Nick Saban went on to become the coach at Alabama after that. So the risk is there. It's one of the reasons why I have no desire to be a GM, because you can't predict these type of things. And it's a risky game, a dangerous game. And you have to make these type of risks when you're in the front office, just like you're making risk on the field. So I don't know. I think you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You just, if he falls to you at 5 and you're the Dolphins, you have to take him and just find out what you have.
But how about moving up? So I asked Laura the question. I'll ask it to you. Do you think it's likelier that he goes earlier than 5 or later?
Absolutely. I think he goes earlier. I don't even know how people could imagine him going past that point with how important quarterbacks are. And I understand what Mr. T is saying about how much money you have committed to him, but it's a different NFL from back in 2008 and earlier when you had like 70 million committed to a quarterback. The risk on drafting a quarterback in the first round is not nearly as high as it once was. So I think that's the reason why the CBA was changed, so that you could be able to take a quarterback and his injuries or whatever, his play not pan out, and your entire franchise won't be kind of collapsed. So I like the idea of taking him and moving up if you're a team that needs him, especially the Dolphins or maybe the Chargers. If you're a team that needs him, moving up to 3 or 4 to make sure you get him.
All right, let me get the big fella now, Booger McFarland. So you hear all this conversation, and we hear all the way back to the beginning. Tua talking about being ready to play immediately. If you're an NFL team and you're drafting Tua Tagovailoa, Booger, are you redshirting him, or are you giving serious consideration to having him out there on the field week 1 if he looks ready?
Well, I'm going to let the medical analysis guide me on that, Greeny. I think overall, you hear him and his agent saying right now he's ready to go. I'm waiting to see what that scan looks like that Laura was speaking of in about 10 days. That's going to help me. But as Coach T just said, you're not going to be able to understand until you actually get your hands on him what this player can do. But Greeny, you speak of risk. Understand this, the risk or the hit rate on a first-round quarterback is less than 50% anyway. So why would you not be willing to take that risk now, especially when the money isn't as great as it was, say, 10, 15 years ago? So I think the spot is number 5 with the Dolphins. And the Dolphins have to ask themselves one question. Do the Chargers really want Tua Tagovailoa? Because if they say no to that question, and I'm Miami, I don't have to move up. I can sit right there at number 5 because I don't think Detroit is taking a quarterback at 3. I love Matthew Stafford. I'd stay with him. So if you're Miami, you have to answer that one question. Do the Chargers really want Tua? If the answer is no, and you're Miami, You just sit right there, you stockpile your assets, and you keep them, and you take Tua at 5, and you sit back and say, you know what? If we have a quarterback that's proven he can throw with accuracy, make great decisions, and throw with timing. And those are the things that you want in a quarterback. Now, whether or not he stays healthy, none of the quarterbacks are going to stay completely healthy in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Just go through the history. They're going to get injured at some point. You just have to trust that your medical staff can give you the best information. And if he does get hurt, you can rehab him as soon as possible.
But hold on, Berger. Let's have a little fun. What if the answer comes back yes? What if you say to yourself, you know what, I am worried the Chargers are going to jump in front of me. Are you, Booger McFarland, if you're making the decision, willing to bet your kids' college tuition someday to move up to number 3 that Tua's going to stay healthy?
No, I'm not moving up to 3 because at that point, I think when you look at the other quarterbacks in the draft, if you do want a quarterback and you're Miami, then you go with one of the other guys. I'm not willing to take the assets that I've stockpiled and risk them. Now, am I willing to risk the 5th pick? Absolutely, but I'm not going to give you 5 and a couple of 2s and a 3 to move up on a risky pick. I will take the 5th pick, though, and hopefully Miami will do that. I think he'll be sitting there at 5, Greeny, and we'll be having this conversation about Miami, how they tanked for Tua, and even in 2019 they won some games, and they still got their guy in 2020.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.